Learning Disabilities, How to Drastically Reduce the Number of High School Dropouts. 1.2 million children in the United States do not graduate from high school. 50% of all high school dropouts come from inner-city schools, where half of the dropouts are learning disabled. Just how can we help these students to stay in school and complete their education? Certainly, encouraging teenagers to stay in school and trying to instill in them a desire to learn is important. But what if you are a learning disabled student and want to remain in school, want to achieve, but simply cannot? What is a learning disabled person? First of all, let me make it clear that a learning disabled person is not retarded. A learning disabled person is one who innately has an average to superior IQ, but serious learning skill deficiencies that keep him or her from learning easily. Generally, he is working 2 to 2.5 years below grade level. Does this mean that a learning disabled person will never be able to learn with ease or overcome his learning disability? No. Emphatically no. If a person is taught specific learning skills along with the basic skills at the elementary level, that student can overcome his problems and learn just like any other student. I have worked with many severely learning disabled students who have not only overcome their learning disability at the elementary level, but gone on to complete high school. Many of these students have also gone on to college to become professionals and extremely successful in life. What are the learning skills? The 4 main categories of learning skills are visual perception, visual memory, auditory perception, and auditory memory. If a student has a serious weakness in any of these areas, it will seriously affect the way he learns. For instance, one of the learning skills is auditory memory. Auditory memory involves being able to attend to what you hear, form images in your mind of what you hear, and recall it later. Basically, it's attention, listening, and recall, or just simply being a good listener. Much of what we must learn in school is presented to us orally, yet except for lessons that give students practice in listening, the formal teaching of listening is not a part of most elementary curriculums. Practice does not make perfect when it comes to listening, because first you have to learn how to listen, and then you need to practice your listening skills. Since a poor listener absorbs very little, a student with poor listening skills misses much of what is being taught in class. When he becomes a teenager, and more of the material in school is taught orally, he becomes very frustrated, unable to absorb the material presented to him, and therefore unable to perform academically at a passing level. It is at that point that dropping out of school seems to him to be his only option. If we as educators and parents were to teach listening skills on a developmental basis in grades kindergarten to grade 3, all students would become good listeners and able to learn material that is presented to them orally. They would not then become overwhelmed by the learning process and would be prepared to progress in learning as they move through the grades. It is as simple as that. However, it is important to note that when we teach listening, it should not just include practice in listening, but the actual developmental process of starting at the student's instructional level and gradually building up. For example, if we are teaching listening in context, we need to begin by presenting simple 3-word sentences to a student and then ask him to state what he has heard. If the student cannot repeat the sentence, the teacher needs to reread the sentence, asking the student to listen very carefully and then to try again to repeat the sentence. The teacher should work in this manner until the student has mastered the art of listening to a 3-word sentence and recalling it. Once the student has mastered the 3-word sentence level, the sentences presented should be gradually increased in length. The goal is to help students to be able to attend to an entire paragraph and recall the main idea and supporting details. It works. Another essential learning skill is visual memory. It involves looking at a visual stimulus, such as a word, forming an image in your mind of that word, and then to be able to recall it when it is no longer present. or to recognize it later in your text as the same word you were just taught. Specific instructions for the development of visual memory, particularly of words, not just pictures and symbols, as well as all other learning skill areas, must be incorporated into our basic primary curriculum so that students develop the learning skills that are needed to help them to be successful in school. It can be done by adding just 15 minutes of instruction on a regular basis with each of these learning skills. While it is possible to remediate a learning disabled student at any age, the best and easiest time to help a learning disabled student to overcome his weak learning skills is at an elementary level. If specific instructions for the development of learning skills were to be added to our elementary curriculum, there would be fewer and fewer learning disabled students in our schools, and consequently, more and more students who would be able to graduate from high school. In the second edition of the book, Learning Disabilities, There is a Cure, Addie Cusimano offers solutions for educators, parents, and professionals who work with students. She shares her findings based on research work and success with students from preschool to college age, from learning disabled to gifted. Sharing her findings on learning skills and basic skill instruction, this revised and expanded book includes 2 new chapters on learning a foreign language and the best mathematics approach, as well as an update on reading and the best approach for reading. It offers a refreshing and assured method for the solution of serious academic concerns. For more information, check on the following website: